Markus, I leave you alone on stage because German cars, I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry for that. French cars are nice as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're French, you know.
Okay, so yeah, welcome and thanks that I got this chance to speak in front of you guys here on the stage today about Audi's VR strategy. I'm Markus, I'm heading the strategy finding finally for my company regarding the usage of immersive technologies. Immersive technologies have a great potential for us because I guess in front of this audience it's not necessary to explain what they might mean for a company as Audi, which have a relatively complex design process, product development process, also in product which we have to show in millions of variations to our customers. For this belongings, immersive technology, especially virtual reality, are really a gift for us. So I started at Audi 70 years ago, so I'm 17 years ago, so I'm a long time there. But I must say the last 5 years was the most amazing and impressive ones for me, because this was the time I combined car technology finally and this company with immersive technology, with virtual reality. And I had the pleasure to lead the development project of our VR-driven sales application, the Audi VR experience. Today I will talk a little bit about it, give some insights and experiences shared with you, and we'll also look forward, because not only talking about the past, also what will happen next in the future. So yeah, let's make a little try if it works. Perfect. So, okay, the phone is not fitting, but by the way, that's hands-on and fine for me. So the Audi VR experience sounds like a little bit like a marketing experience, but is much more, as I mentioned before. So at the dealerships today, at the point of sale, we have a challenge. What is the challenge? Let's take a look back 70 years ago. Sales process, you had real cars at the dealership, and dealers explained the car and its functionalities to the customers via prospect materials and so on. And it was very static and a little bit old school, old-fashioned. Many things happened in between, so digitization, social change, etc. The world is another one today. But honestly, if we take a look to the most of the dealerships, it's the same situation. Although the product changed massively, we have electronics, hundreds of new functionalities, much things we have to explain. We use the same technology, also the same methods to explain our products and to show them to the customer as 70 years ago. I mean, that's not an Audi dealership, but honestly, it's equal. At this time, it was equal at the most of the Audi dealerships, but Audi realized that. And we said, what could we do? How could we reach the customer in a better way? And so Audi introduced the Audi City flagship stores. Those are digital flagship stores and expensive city locations, as here in Berlin, for example, where we had yesterday the press conference. So what means we have only 2 to 3 real physical cars there, and everything else is digital. So you have room-high digital screen walls where you can see your car one-to-one and can configure it. I guess we have 380 million approximately different combinations which are possible, and so digital tools are the right way to show your personal car. I guess here in Europe it's not necessary to explain the advantage, because here you can configure your car from zero, really a really individual one. In the United States sometimes I have to explain that because people buying the cars there directly from the dealership. But by the way, at those Audi City flagship stores, we collecting experiences with new sales tools, which we introduce in the next step to the normal dealerships. And of course, we have more than 2,500 worldwide. This has for the brand a much higher impact. And maybe to describe the whole story behind, today we have the challenge. Although we are a premium brand, and as a premium brand we are interested in a close relationship between the dealer and the customer, most of our customers come only to the dealership to talk about the price. They're well informed through the internet, and they don't spend too much time there at the dealership. And we have to develop tools finally to give people a reason to spend time at the dealership, to intensivate the relationship between the dealer and the salesperson finally and the customer. And it's not about upselling, it's also to avoid wrong decisions, it's also to give him a really good consulting regarding his next car. And with that, virtual reality, as I mentioned before, is a gift for us, because also in the Audi cities we are limited on screens. Of course, we have all the data. That's an advantage Audi has because of the production and development. Every car is there digitally before it's there in real physics. Let me say it that way. And now we can use those data, of course, and via VR we can show them in an unexpected, realistic way. And this was also the reason why Audi 2013 said the advantage is that big. We see that. I invited at this time Palmer Luckey and Brandon from Oculus. I can remember very well 2013 at the CES. I met those guys first time. I tried Palmer's prototype and I said, you have to come to Germany. We must show this to our management. And really this prototype convinced them to say, let's invest from now. And we don't make a long proof of concept or something. We really integrate this technology into our sales process, into our tools. And in the following 4 years, honestly, I fell in love with the community because I felt the same passion as I did in the time at Audi in the first time as well. So people love the idea, they're working together, they share ideas and so on, and that's what I really like and I appreciate. Although I'm working for such a long time for Audi, it was very inspiring to come together with this community. So let's face the challenge of that. The already mentioned car data, construction data have an extremely high poly count, more than 50 million. And at the dealerships, of course, we can't use a cluster or something like this. It must run on a normal PC because it has to be affordable for the dealer. And so we developed, alone 1 year it took to develop a process that we reduce in a mostly automated way, a reduction of the car models down to 5 to 7 million poly counts. Therefore, we can show them with a P6000 graphic card from NVIDIA. At this time it was the M6000, I guess, meanwhile the P6000, with the needed 90 frames per second in an HMD, because of course we have to avoid that people get sick if they use VR at the dealership. This was one of the main challenge, show the cars as realistic as possible and without making people sick. Just in comparison, video games models have only 1 to 2 million poly counts. They're looking great, but they fake a lot of geometry via the surfaces, the bitmaps and so on. And in our models, everything is real geometry. And that's important if you want to explore a car in VR. If you go close to details and if you want to see them, they're really geometry and authentically. So during this development, we figured out that the potential of VR is not only showing a car one-to-one. That's great. People try it first time and they see the car model in front of them, and most of them using VR first time, and they're surprised by the quality of the experience, the high degree of immersion. But we also thought, hey, we want to emotionalize the sales experience. This was one of our main goals, of course. And also, we want to bring a bigger effort than only showing the car. So we will have a second element. So for the promotion of equipment and explanation of equipment and functionalities, we are using VR as well. This is a new kind of content we will introduce from next year. It's not only 360 videos, we will have also animations which explains the Quattro principle and so on, and add an additional value. So as I said, it's not about marketing, it's also about explain and showing our products and give people a help to understand why they should invest 2K, for example, for a Quattro, where are the advantages. So, and to create an emotional highlight as well, we have such elements called brand moments. And for example, just to give you a feeling for that, we digitized the complete pit stop sequence in Le Mans last year, and I don't talk about 360 video, although it's not bad, I don't want to make that small, but we really captured the whole scene via photogrammetry, motion capturing, and so on. And in this scene, for 100 seconds, if you're at the dealership, you can move freely in the box of Le Mans. You can decide by yourself if you want to look over the shoulder of the mechanic or take a look into the cockpit of the car and so on. And it really feels extremely immersive and is impressive for people, especially with a high sportive interest. And we will give our dealers a couple of those opportunities. They can choose and individualize the sales experience to your belongings and needs. So for example, just to give you an example, if your wife loves France, you can show the car in the harbor of Monaco, for example. It's possible, we have it captured and have a nice surrounding there. Or you can have such attitudes, we have additions. Or we have also one of our wonderful classics, the Type D Sport Wagon from 38, digitized. There are 3 cars in the world, I guess, and it's not possible to bring into each dealership, but in VR it's possible. And if you as a dealer, if you're knowing your customer loves classic cars, especially in the United States and so on, many people do, they can explore this car at the dealership if you want to. It's up to you as a dealer. You also can go straight through the process and can only show the car. That's your decision finally. And VR is the technology which empowers that in an unexpected way. During the pilot last year, we had a couple of customers which left the dealership and they said, wow, I really have to start thinking about how I can use this technology at my dealership, or maybe at my business, at home, and so on. Okay. Before we come to the introduction scenario, maybe I can give you also a feeling about the visual quality. And this was one of the main challenges, of course. Tom, maybe you can help me here. This would be very nice from you because I integrated this video a little bit too late, but you have to see that. So we don't have only 360 spheres. We really captured volumetric surroundings. So this is the visual quality, how you will see your Audi at the dealership in VR. And I guess this is a small part Audi can add to show people how it could look like in the future. This scene is completely volumetric captured. You can move as you would be in a movie, and we can show every Audi in this quality you're seeing here, can configure it, and you have the feeling you are there at this moment. So, and we're not using a standard Unity, not a standard Unreal right now. It's a special engine which allows us to show the cars in this quality based on Unity, but with individual optimized machine code. And yeah, this is one of the reasons why it took also for us 4 years to develop that. Okay, I guess for a short impression, that's fine. We can go back. Thanks, Tom. That's very nice. We introduced this setup at the first 100 dealerships until end of this year, and hopefully much more next year. And that's also important for us because we collect very valuable experiences now. What does the customer like, and the dealer, of course, what maybe not. And so, as I mentioned, I guess this is our part we can add to convince people that VR is a very promising and interesting technology. We had a big, this is maybe the half of the project team. Unfortunately, we never had a chance to come all together. You see, we had great partners, small companies, but very successful ones as Reflect, but also the big players, of course, by realizing that. So, but the best, you guys know it at least as good as me, this is only the beginning. And I don't want to talk only about the things we did. I also want to look forward and want to share some insights what comes next. And there's a big question at Audi as well. Is this a nice niche? And yes, we can now show our cars in a very natural way, and maybe it has an impact for the design process, and we can develop more effective, or is there a bigger impact in front of us? Honestly, we don't know it right now, but there are some indications, and I want to talk about those scenarios with you guys. So let's take a look to an immersive tech road map of the next years. Today, the usage of AR VR is an advantage. I guess Audi is the first car company, maybe the first industrial company which is using VR in such a consequent way at its dealerships. So that's nice. People are surprised. It's based on the brand strength and helps customers. Okay. We're also using that for development, as you see on the lower picture. So this is still a colleague who is wearing an, I guess it's a DK2, adapted DK2 in the car. And he is driving on a flat surface, 500x500 meter on the airport in Munich. And he is seeing a virtual town, and he can test all the assistance systems. So he drives a real car with real movements, but he's seeing himself in a virtual town where we can simulate some situations as child's running in front of the car and so on, which is of course not possible in reality, but in virtual reality we can. And that's the way how we use VR today. Of course, all the other departments as design and so on started experimenting with that, but the quality of the first generation of the HMDs is way too low right now to be really helpful for design process where you really talk about millimeters and so on. But in the future, it might and it will have a huge impact. Okay, by the way, positive impact today. But what happens within 3 to 6 years? I guess the usage of augmented mixed reality comes up, and we know that HoloLens is potentially successful, but we will have much more devices in the future from different companies worldwide, and we will have an impact on the point of sale, of course. So one of my main missions is to think about how can we use mixed reality at the dealership. If we introduced already virtual reality, will it replace VR or will it be a nice addition? I think the last, that's what I can share with you guys. So I guess as soon as we have mixed reality in high quality, with a bigger field of view and also with real-looking reflections and so on, we can use it at the dealership with the advantage that I keep my eye contact with between the dealer and the customer. This is a disadvantage of VR today. That is a very you're a little bit lost in VR, which is great for an experience as Le Mans, but if you want to talk about the car, it would be better to see your partner or maybe your dealer. This will be possible with the mixed reality. But also in the car it becomes interesting. So we invested a lot of money in the last decade to develop advanced head-up displays. But they're limited. They need a lot of space and have a really small field of view. With augmented reality, with devices, smart devices, it might become realistic to have a 360-degree 3D head-up display in the future, which could be very helpful, especially if autonomously driving comes up, to explain all the things which happens with the car right now and to get an understanding how the sensor clusters in the car working. At this time, to be experienced with AR and VR has a positive impact. It becomes more important for a car manufacturer than today. And then we have the stage in 8 to 12 years. Don't nail me down on those numbers. Maybe it's earlier, maybe it's a little bit later. It's hard to say, to predict that right now. But approximately at this time, the usage of AR and VR becomes a must. If you don't use it, you're way not effective enough for the development process. Also, it's about, how can you say that, if Mark Zuckerberg's vision comes true and VR and AR melting together in one unit, it will have much more meaning than be only comfortable. So what means we will get in general an extremely positive impact, of course, but maybe we have a problem. It's hard to say, to predict today. Because, as I said, this might have an impact to mobility. If I can have this experience here today with you in the same way, you wear your headset at home and you see me, you see all the things, my gestures and so on, why you should drive to Potsdam and so maybe it's possible to do at least a part of the things you need for which you need mobility today via immersive technologies, and this might have an impact. We can't avoid that happens, and we have to arrange with that. And that's the point. There's no chance to prevent the breakthrough of immersive technologies. We're convinced about that. But we have to think about how can we use them in the future for the design process, for the development process, also at the point of sales, where we have it now first time in a really sophisticated way, and maybe if autonomously driving comes up, it might become also more and more interesting to use these technologies which unchains you finally in the car. And that's the things I'm talking about and I'm thinking about. It's my main mission, and yeah, I'm here the whole day, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask me, and thanks that I was able to share this with you guys here today. Thanks.